Personal limitations are often invisible walls built by fear and doubt, confining individuals within boundaries far smaller than their true potential. This truth resonates deeply with many who harbor dreams, but feel trapped by circumstances that seem to overpower their aspirations. The question arises, why do so many talented and capable people remain prisoners of their own minds, unable to break free and reach greatness? This story seeks to unfold this mystery, while subtly enriching your English vocabulary and motivational mindset. In a quiet urban park, where the gentle rustle of leaves mingled with distant city sounds, a young artist named Ethan sat alone on a weathered bench. His sketchbook lay open on his lap, pages filled with tentative lines and half-formed ideas. Yet, despite the creativity that bubbled within him, his face bore the weight of frustration and doubt. The afternoon sun filtered softly through the trees, casting dappled shadows that danced across his drawings. But Ethan's eyes were fixed downward, clouded with uncertainty. Ethan had always dreamed of becoming a renowned artist, someone whose work would inspire and move people. However, each attempt to bring his visions to life seemed to fall short. His brush strokes were hesitant. His colors lacked the vibrancy he imagined. More than once, he had crumpled his sketches in frustration and stuffed them into a neglected corner of his small apartment. The fear of failure gnawed at him relentlessly, whispering that he was not good enough, that his dreams were out of reach. As Ethan sat there, wrestling with his inner turmoil, he pondered over a phrase he had recently encountered. The only limits that exist are those you place upon yourself. It sounded like a cliché, yet it stirred something within him. Was it possible that the barriers he faced were not external but self-imposed? Could his own mind be the prison keeping his potential locked away? Nearby, an elderly woman ambled slowly along the path, her silver hair catching the light, her steps measured but steady. She carried an air of calm wisdom, the kind that comes from a lifetime of experiences. As she approached the bench, she noticed Ethan's troubled expression and paused. "May I sit?" she asked gently. Ethan nodded, grateful for the company. The woman settled beside him, her eyes kind and attentive. "You seem burdened," she observed softly. "What weighs on your heart, young one?" Ethan sighed, closing his sketchbook reluctantly. "I want to create something meaningful, but I'm stuck. I keep doubting myself. It feels like there's a wall I can't climb." The woman smiled knowingly. "Ah, the invisible walls of the mind. They are the most formidable barriers we face. Yet, unlike physical walls, these can be dismantled with courage and patience." "But how?" Ethan asked, his voice tinged with desperation. "I try to push through, but the fear of failing stops me. I'm afraid that no matter how hard I work, I won't succeed." The woman nodded, understanding his struggle. Fear is a natural companion on the road to growth. It signals that you are stepping beyond your comfort zone. But remember, it is your mindset that gives fear its power. If you believe you are limited, you will remain so. If you believe in your potential, the limits begin to dissolve. Ethan considered her words, their simplicity belying profound truth. He recalled moments when self-doubt had silenced his creative voice, moments when he had abandoned a sketch because it wasn't perfect. The realization dawned that these moments were not failures but choices, to give in to fear rather than confront it. The woman continued, "Greatness is not a destination but a journey. It requires embracing imperfection and uncertainty. The walls you see are often shadows cast by your own doubts. Illuminate them with belief, and they vanish." Ethan felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. The idea that he could change his mindset, that he could reshape his reality by altering his thoughts, was empowering. Yet, it also required action, a step he was hesitant to take. "I want to believe that," Ethan said quietly. "But how do I start? How do I break free from these invisible chains?" The woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small, worn notebook. "This belonged to my mentor," she explained. "It contains reflections and exercises that helped me overcome my fears. Perhaps it can help you, too." Ethan accepted the notebook with reverence, feeling the textured cover and the faint scent of aged paper. "Thank you," he whispered. I'll do my best. Remember, the woman said as she rose to leave, the greatest battles are fought within. Each day, choose to see yourself not as limited, but as capable. The walls are only as strong as you believe them to be. As she walked away, Ethan opened the notebook to the first page. The words written there seemed to speak directly to him. Your mind is the garden, your thoughts the seeds. Plant courage and determination, and watch your potential bloom. Ethan sat back on the bench, feeling a newfound determination welling up inside him. The park around him seemed brighter, the sounds clearer. The invisible walls that had once confined him now seemed less daunting, as if they might crumble with each positive thought he nurtured. He took out his pencil and began to sketch again, this time with a steadier hand and a heart less burdened by doubt. Each line was imperfect, yet vibrant with possibility. The journey ahead remained uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt ready to face it. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the park, Ethan's creative spark glowed a little brighter. The path to greatness was not free of obstacles, but it was open, waiting for him to step through with courage and belief. Days passed since Ethan's encounter with the wise woman, and the small notebook lay open beside his bed, its pages filled with reflections and exercises designed to challenge his mindset. Yet, despite the hopeful words, doubt still lingered like a stubborn shadow. One afternoon, Ethan returned to the same park, sketchbook in hand, determined to push beyond his fears. The air was crisp, carrying the subtle scent of autumn leaves, and the familiar bench awaited him beneath a sturdy oak tree. As he settled in, a voice called softly, "Still drawing, are you?" Ethan looked up to see the elderly woman approaching, her eyes twinkling with warmth. She carried a canvas bag filled with brushes and paints, evidence of her own creative journey. "May I join you again?" Ethan nodded eagerly. "Please." She sat beside him, placing her bag carefully on the ground. "Tell me, how has your journey been since we last spoke?" Ethan hesitated, then shared honestly, "I've been trying to change how I think about my work, about myself, but it's hard. The fear of failing, of not being good enough, still holds me back. I wonder if I'm just fooling myself." The woman smiled knowingly. "That is the very nature of growth. The old self resists change, clinging to familiar doubts. But tell me, what do you believe about your own potential?" Ethan paused, searching within. "I want to believe I can improve, that my art can touch people. But sometimes I feel I'm too afraid to take risks, to show my work to others." "Fear of exposure is common," she agreed. "But consider this. What if your fear is not a stop sign but a signal? A signal that you are on the edge of something meaningful." Her words ignited a spark in Ethan's mind. "So, you're saying I should embrace the fear, not avoid it?" "Exactly. Fear is not your enemy but a guidepost. It means you're stepping beyond comfort into growth. The question is, will you let fear dictate your actions, or will you act despite it?" Ethan thought deeply about this. In the past, he had hidden his sketches away, convinced they weren't worthy. Now, the idea of sharing his imperfect work felt both terrifying and exhilarating. The woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small canvas. "Here," she said. "This is my latest painting. It's far from perfect, but each brushstroke represents a choice to create despite uncertainty." She handed the canvas to Ethan, who observed the vibrant colors and bold strokes. The painting was raw, alive with emotion, and unafraid of its flaws. It spoke of courage and authenticity. "I see," Ethan murmured. "It's not about being flawless, but about expressing something real." "Precisely," she affirmed. "Growth happens when you stop waiting for perfection and start embracing the process." Encouraged by her words, Ethan made a decision. "I want to share my art. Even if it's imperfect, I want to connect with others." "Then start small," the woman advised. "Show your work to a trusted friend or at a local gathering. Each act of courage builds confidence." Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He pulled out a recent sketch and showed it to the woman. She examined it with care, offering gentle praise and constructive suggestions. "That's a wonderful start," she encouraged. "See how you've captured emotion through your lines? Keep nurturing that. Remember, every artist grows through practice and feedback." Inspired, Ethan spent the next few days revisiting his sketches with renewed energy. He experimented with colors and styles, allowing himself the freedom to make mistakes. Each attempt, whether successful or not, was a step forward. One evening, at a local art group meeting he had hesitated to join, Ethan gathered his courage and displayed several of his pieces. The room buzzed with creativity, filled with artists sharing their work and stories. When it was his turn, Ethan's hands trembled slightly, but he spoke about his journey, about fear, doubt, and the decision to act despite them. To his surprise, the group responded with warmth and encouragement. Fellow artists offered feedback, shared their own struggles, and praised his unique perspective. For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of belonging and validation. After the meeting, the elderly woman approached him, her eyes shining. "You have taken a bold step," she said. "How do you feel?" "Liberated," Ethan admitted. "It's still scary, but also exciting. Sharing my work makes it real, and I see now that fear doesn't have to stop me." She smiled gently. Courage and growth are intertwined. Each small act of bravery expands your confidence and breaks down the walls inside. Ethan reflected on how far he had come, from a young man paralyzed by self-doubt to someone who could face fear and choose action. The interplay between courage and growth was clearer now. They were not separate forces but partners in his creative journey. That night, as Ethan walked home beneath the starry sky, his heart was lighter. The invisible chains that had once held him captive were loosening, replaced by the steady strength of belief and experience. The path ahead remained uncertain, but he was no longer afraid to walk it. In the days that followed, Ethan continued to embrace imperfection, sharing his art more openly and welcoming feedback. Each challenge became an opportunity to learn, each fear a prompt to act. The transformation unfolding within him was subtle yet profound. The mentor's question echoed in his mind. Will you let fear dictate your actions, or will you act despite it? Ethan chose the latter, discovering that courage was not the absence of fear but the triumph over it. With this realization, his art began to breathe with new life, infused with the authenticity and vulnerability that only courage could inspire. The once frustrating blocks of creativity gave way to a flowing river of expression. Ethan's journey illuminated a simple yet powerful truth. Growth requires stepping into the unknown, embracing discomfort, and trusting in one's potential. The walls of self-imposed limitation crumble when confronted with courage, revealing the boundless possibilities beyond. As the park's trees swayed gently in the evening breeze, Ethan sat once more on the bench, sketchbook in hand, not with hesitation but with hope. The artist within him was awakening, ready to paint his story on the canvas of life. Weeks had passed since Ethan's courageous step into sharing his art, and the transformation within him had become unmistakable. The park bench where he had first wrestled with doubt now felt like a familiar sanctuary, a witness to his journey from fear to freedom. One crisp morning, as golden sunlight filtered through the branches, the elderly woman returned, carrying a sketchbook of her own. She approached Ethan with a smile that spoke of pride and recognition. "Good morning, Ethan," she greeted warmly. "I've been eager to hear about your progress." Ethan closed his own sketchbook and looked up, his eyes reflecting newfound confidence. "It's been a remarkable journey. I've shared my work with friends and even at local gatherings. Each time, I've felt more connected to my art and to others. The fear hasn't disappeared, but it no longer controls me." The woman nodded approvingly. "You have embraced the essence of growth, transforming limitation into liberation. Tell me, what have you learned about yourself through this process?" Ethan paused, considering the question deeply. "I've realized that my greatest obstacle was my own thinking. When I believed I was limited, I stayed small. But by challenging those beliefs and acting despite fear, I've reclaimed my creative power. I see now that I am not defined by my doubts but by the choices I make." She smiled, her eyes reflecting years of wisdom. That is a profound realization. Many spend their lives confined by self-imposed walls, unaware that the key to freedom lies within their own minds. Ethan opened his sketchbook to a page filled with vibrant drawings, each one a testament to his evolving style and spirit. "These are not just pictures," he said. "They represent my journey from hesitation to expression. I feel alive when I create, and more importantly, I believe in my ability to grow." The woman reached out, touching the corner of his sketchbook gently. "You have become a testament to transformation. Your story will inspire others who struggle with their own invisible barriers." Ethan's smile was humble but bright. "I want to help others see that they, too, can break free. It starts with a shift in perspective, a choice to believe in oneself." The mentor's affirmation filled Ethan with warmth. "Remember, greatness is not reserved for the few but is accessible to all who dare to change their thoughts and actions. Your journey is just beginning." As the woman prepared to leave, Ethan felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you for guiding me," he said earnestly. "Without your questions and encouragement, I might still be trapped in doubt." She turned to him, her gaze steady. "It was always within you. I only helped you see it. Now, carry this light forward, not just for yourself but for those who will follow." Ethan watched her walk away, the quiet strength of her presence lingering in the air. He closed his sketchbook and stood, feeling a renewed passion burning in his chest. The park, once a place of quiet struggle, had become the backdrop for his awakening. In the days that followed, Ethan continued to nurture his craft and his courage. He sought out new opportunities to share his work, to teach and to inspire. With each story told and each sketch shared, he deepened his connection to the creative community and to his own purpose. One afternoon, as he arranged a small exhibition in a local cafe, a young artist approached him hesitantly. "I've heard about your journey," she said softly. "Your courage has inspired me to face my own fears." Ethan smiled, recognizing the familiar struggle in her eyes. "It's not easy, but it's worth it. Remember, every step forward is a victory." Their conversation flowed naturally, a passing of the torch from one seeker to another. Ethan realized that his transformation had come full circle, from a young man burdened by doubt to a mentor offering light to those still finding their way. As the exhibition opened, visitors admired Ethan's work, commenting on the emotion and authenticity that radiated from each piece. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that his art was not just a personal triumph, but a bridge connecting hearts and stories. That evening, seated once again on the park bench beneath the stars, Ethan reflected on the path he had traveled. The invisible walls that once confined him had crumbled, replaced by the expansive horizon of possibility. He understood now that life's greatest truths are discovered within. The power to choose one's thoughts, to embrace imperfection, and to act with courage. These choices shape not only the artist but the person, unlocking potential that was always there, waiting to be realized. Ethan's story was no longer one of limitation but of liberation. He was a living example that greatness is accessible to all who dare to believe and to act. The journey from fear to freedom is ongoing, but with each step taken, the future becomes brighter. As the night deepened, Ethan closed his eyes and breathed in the cool air. The mentor's words echoed softly in his mind. "Carry this light forward, not just for yourself but for those who will follow." With a heart full of hope, he rose from the bench, ready to embrace whatever came next on his path of creativity and courage.